So I wanted to talk about some myths about carbs, primarily because carbs seem to get villainized quite a lot these days, and I think they get a bad rap when they really don't deserve it. And some of the things I hear quite frequently out of people's mouths are myths, exactly, and not reality. The number one being that low carb diets are the really only way to lose weight. And the reality here is that a low carb diet can definitely help you lose weight, particularly short term because so much of that initial loss is water weight. But long term, this style of eating is rarely healthy or sustainable depending upon how you approach it, right? Our bodies and our brain function optimally by using glucose, which we get from carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are also our best sources of vitamins, vitamin B, fiber, iron, folate, all of these things. And in addition to that, cutting out carbs can create the yo-yo effect for people and is often cited as leading to binge eating simply because the restriction of it ends up being too much for people and they rebel and go 180 degrees in the other direction. So most of the weight loss benefit achieved by following a low carb diet can be achieved simply by reducing or eliminating overly processed carbs from your diet and focusing on incorporating all the wonderful, healthy, whole food carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables and legumes and whole grains. And that is a much easier long-term approach to losing weight. Another myth that I hear quite frequently, speaking of fruit, is that fruit is too high carb and too high sugar and therefore bad for weight loss. And the reality is fruit does contain a natural sugar, fructose, but it is also jam-packed with fiber and other nutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. And increasing your intake of fruit and berries in particular has actually been shown to lower your risk of type 2 diabetes and increase your chances of successful weight loss. Like all carbohydrates, the important thing when considering fruit in regards to weight loss is to pay attention to portion sizes and focus on eating the whole food. So I encourage everybody to stick to eating whole fruits and not juicing, because juicing is not a whole food anymore. You're concentrating the sugar and removing the fiber when you do that. So focus on eating the whole food and focus particularly on high fiber fruits like berries, apples, kiwis, pears, all of those things that are going to do a wonderful job of balancing your blood sugar, of making sure you're not taking in too much sugar, and making sure that your body processes it effectively. Leading to my next myth, which is that all carbs cause major blood sugar spikes and drops, which is very much not true. The reality is that fiber, which is a primary component in whole carbohydrates, is actually the best mitigator of blood sugar spikes, and it is found in abundance in all of our good, powerful carbohydrates, right? Fiber essentially creates a slow release of the sugars in carbohydrates, which is what prevents our blood sugar from spiking and dropping. So the research continually shows that having a high fiber diet, which means high in complex carbohydrates, actually leads to improved insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism, as well as weight loss. So again, the issue here is not carbohydrates, it is refined, processed carbohydrates, because those are the ones that are going to spike your blood sugar. So again, if this is your concern, the important note is simply to avoid refined and processed carbohydrates and focus on the whole food-based carbohydrates like fruits, veggies, legumes, and whole grains. So of note here is that carbs in their natural form are not the enemy. In fact, they are anything but. They are full of nutrients, they are full of fiber, and fiber is an important part of a healthy weight management plan, a healthy gut health plan, and part of contributing to making you feel full and satiated in a positive way. So you do want to incorporate carbohydrates into your diet. You just want to make sure that they're the real form and that they're not processed in any way. So have at it, eat all the good carbohydrates and enjoy. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.